Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Pasha Aulia. I will present chapter 14, Teaching Vocabulary from Jeremy Harmer's book. Next slide, please. Table of contents. First, introducing vocabulary. Second, practicing vocabulary. Third, vocabulary games. And fourth, using dictionaries. Next slide. First, introducing vocabulary. When we introduce new vocabulary, there is always a change that is not new to some of the students in the class. That is why elicitation is so important. Elicitation in this context means finding out what students already know about a topic before you teach them something new. It is like a pre-check to see if the information is really new to them. By the time students get up to upper intermediate level or beyond, we can be sure that some of them will know some of the words we are asking them to focus on. Next slide. Here the example from activities from introducing vocabularies. Focus of this example is functional language, age for adult, and the level pre-intermediate. First, students are shown a picture of a lake or a river where people are rowing each other around. In the foreground, a woman is talking to a young man with a broken arm. And then we tell the students that they should read the following dialogue and see if they can guess the word or words that are missing in each of the blanks. And then when the students have compared their possible answers, they hear the dialogue spoken on an audio track so they can see if they were right. And we can then get them to practice speaking the dialogue. And then we know have the students should study two elements of inviting. In the first place, we get them to make invitations by completing these praise stems, like would you like to, how about, and etc. They now look at a list of phrases and have to decide whether they mean that the speaker is saying yes, is not sure, or is saying no. And then we help them to think of ways of completing the phrase, I'd love to, but blah, blah, blah. For example, I'm working this evening. And then we can now get them to practice simple invitation reply exchange by cueing them with words like dinner. How about coming to dinner? Oh, that would be great. And finally, the students read out or act out their dialogues and we give them feedback. So this is the example of introducing vocabularies. Next slide, please. Second, practicing vocabulary. In the following lesson sequences, the aim of the activity is either to have students use words that they more or less know, but which they need to be provoked into using, or to get them to think about word meaning, especially in context. Next slide. So this is the example. The focus is houses, rooms, objects, and age for any and level and for any level 2. Word maps are an extremely engaging way of building a vocabulary knowledge as well as provoking students into retrieving and using what they know. In this sequence, the students are going to work on aspects of houses and the things in them. First, we start by putting the beginnings of a map on the board, and then students then come to the board and add some rooms to the diagrams as in figure it. Students should by now have begun to get the idea, even if they haven't done a word map before this. But just to be sure, we elicit words for one of the rooms, such as kitchen. And then we can now put students in groups and allocate one room per group. They are given marker pens and told to add as many words as they can to the word map for their room. The board gradually fills up with words. Students help each other by offering words they know but which perhaps other members of the group have forgotten. And then once the word map is complete or as full as it is likely to be, we can make sure students can say the words correctly before going on to test them, to describe their favorite room, a home, or have a discussion about why people don't put televisions in the bedroom, usually or fridge in the bedroom. We can give students a picture or plan of an empty room and ask them to decide what to put it in it. Next slide. And the next is vocabulary games. There are many games which are appropriate for use with collections of vocabulary items. Sometimes games which are not designed especially for language students work equally well in our lesson. This include dictionary, where players have to draw words which their team then have to guess. Call my bluff, and carrots, where players have to act out the title of a book, play, or film. Next slide. Next slide, please. This is the example. The focus of the game is word recognition or enjoyment. The age level is any and level is elementary plus. This game is designed to engage students with a list of vocabulary items which will be used in the lesson sequence which follows. It does not involve any guessing or complex mental processing, but as a result of it, students see and hear a range of words and have a good time doing it. Okay, first, students are put into groups of 4 or 5, all sitting around a table. The teacher gives each group a collection of 20 to 30 words written on individual cards or pieces of paper. The students have to place the cards face up on the table in front of them so that all of them can be seen. And then the teacher now reads out the words one by one. The task of each individual in a group is to try to snatch the card with the word on it. When they do this, before the other member of the group, they have to hold the card up and shout, "Got it." Each student keeps the card they have managed to snatch, and so that at the end of the game, there is a winner in each group and an overall winner who has collected the greatest number cards. Next slide. Fourth is using dictionaries. Dictionaries, whether they are in book form, on CD-ROMs, online, or bundled into the electronic machines that students like to carry around, are perhaps the greatest single resource students can have at their disposal. Next slide, please. Reference and production dictionaries. A reference dictionary is one where students look up a word to see what meanings it has, how it is used, and the way it is spelled and pronounced. A highly creative and motivated individual with a passion for my portfolio is filled with unique and inspiring content which showcase my skills in the field. Next slide, please. In today's dictionaries, there is a good chance that there will also be extra information telling the user about such thing as, first, differences between British and American usage, for example, Monday to Friday inclusive, and Monday through Friday American. Number 2, similar words, for example, the difference between gaze, stare, and gape. Third, frequency in different media. For example, the fact that certainly is more common in speech than in writing. Number 4, levels of formality. For example, to the fact that indolent is a formal word. And then connotation. For example, the fact the vagabond is especially literary and that certain words are taboo. Next slide, please. Reference and production dictionaries. Production dictionaries, on the other hand, are designed for students to use the other way around, starting with a meaning they wish to express and looking for the word that expresses it. In a production dictionary, students look for a general word that they already know and which is a bit like the concept they wish to be able to express in English. Next slide, please. Dictionary activities. The following activities are designed both to train students in how to use dictionaries and also to get them to use dictionaries as follows of normal classroom work. For example, students who consult a production dictionary will be able to research words they have perhaps never heard or seen before. Thus, within the topic of films, they might search for words for films and going to see them. Types types of film, people in films, people who make films, and various other categories, including what happens in a film, provided that the dictionary designers have managed to predict the words which the students are likely to need. Such production material is an ideal tool for language research. The students can now use the words for the project or task they are involved in. Next slide, please. Then when students use dictionaries, teachers are divided on dictionary use in class. Some dislike students constantly checking them, even during explanations. However, dictionaries are valuable tools. The key is finding the right balance. Students should try to understand the general meaning of a text first, and then use dictionaries for specific unknown words. This allows them to develop listening skills. This involves agreeing with students on when dictionary use is appropriate and using engaging dictionary activities in class. This will ensure dictionaries are used effectively for learning. Next slide, please. Okay, maybe that's all for my presentation. If you have any question, please type it on the chat box or you can raise your hand.
May I ask some question?
Yes.
All right. I have a question because this is about teaching vocabulary. So, we must use dictionary, right, to find some vocabulary or the meaning of the vocabulary. And I want to ask about your opinion. Which one is the best? Do you think that for student, is it the best use book dictionary or digital dictionary, uh, where the student can, for the digital dictionary, student can only write the words that they want to find the meaning, so the meaning will find like that. Which one do you think is the best? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Salsa. I think I prefer digital dictionary because it's more simple and easy to find.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the answer. Uh, okay.
I think there's no other question. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
All right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Salsabila Lutfiananda. Today I would like to present about chapter 17 from the book The Practice of English Language Teaching by Jeremy Harmer. And chapter 17 will talk about reading. Next slide, please. Okay, the materials that I will explain today is about reading, and the first is extensive reading, the second is intensive reading, and the last is reading lesson sequences. Next slide, please. All right, the first is about extensive reading. So what is extensive reading? Extensive reading, or we usually call it as ER, illustrates a student that asked to read simple material from various topics to focus on breadth of an understanding. So, one of the fundamental conditions of a successful extensive reading program is the students should be reading material which they can understand. If they are struggling to understand every word, they can hardly be reading for pleasure, the main goal of this activity. And this means that we need to provide books which either by chance or because they have been specially written are readily accessible to our students. So how about the material? About the material for extensive reading, usually use simple language that can make students enjoy the reading because the aims of extensive reading is students' breadth understanding. All right, next slide, please. Okay, for the example of the material, the language used in the material is simple and controlled, but the atmosphere in True Murder Mystery style is satisfying, creepy, and a student who enjoys this kind of story, but whose level of English is very low, will enjoy it enormously too. This is the example from John Doe by Moses from Cambridge University Press. There is a simple text. Maybe you can read on the screen. This is some example of the simple material that used for extensive reading. All right, next slide, please. And in extensive reading, we also do the setting up a library. In order to set up an extensive reading program, we need to build up a library of suitable books. Although this may appear costly, but it will be money well spent. And then the second is about the role of the teacher in extensive reading. We need to we as teacher need to promote reading, and by our own exposure of reading as a valid occupation. Persuade students of its benefit is also important. Perhaps, for example, we can occasionally read aloud from books we like and show by our manner of reading about how exciting books can be. And then for the extensive reading task, teacher can make one approach to set aside a time at various points in a course, say every 2 weeks, at which students can ask questions and or tell their classmates about the books they have found and they have read particularly enjoyable or noticeable outcome. And however, if this is inappropriate because not all students read at the same speed, or because they often do not have much to say about the book in front of their college, we can ask them each to keep a weekly reading diary, either on its own or as part of any learning journal they may be writing. And students can also write short book reviews for the class notice board. And at the end of a month or a semester or a year of class, students can vote on what is the most popular book in the library. So teacher can use many various activities for extensive reading tasks. Next slide, please. And the second is intensive reading. Intensive reading is more specifically than extensive reading. So it is intensive reading is about reading closely, and it focuses on depth of understanding. Where the extensive reading is focused on general understanding, intensive reading is focused on depth of understanding. And then in order to get students to read enthusiastically in class, we need to work to create interest in the topic and task. So for intensive reading, there are three focus. The first is about the roles of the teacher, and then the vocabulary question, and letting the students in. Next slide, please. All right. This is the roles of teacher, the roles that teacher need when asking students to read intensively. The first is organizer. So teacher here roles as the organizer. We as teacher need to tell students exactly what their reading purpose is and give them clear instruction about how to achieve it and explain how long they have to do this. So we as the organizer should give clearly clear instructions so that students will know what is the purpose of their intensive reading. And the second is observer. We act also as observers. This means restraining ourselves from interrupting that reading, even though the temptation may be to add more information or instructions. And then the third is feedback organizer. We also, as teachers, should give our students feedback when they have completed the task. We can lead a feedback session to check that they have completed it successfully. We may start by having them compare their answers in pairs and then ask for answers from the class in general or from pairs in particularly. And students often feel appreciated by getting good feedback from their teacher. And then the last is teacher's role as the prompter. When students have read a text, we can prompt them to notice language features within it. We may also, as controllers, direct them to certain features of text construction, clarifying ambiguous meaning, and making them aware of issues of text structure which they had not come across previously. Next slide, please. And then the second is intensive reading, the vocabulary question. Carol Walker points out it seems contradictory to insist that students read for meaning while simultaneously discouraging them from trying to understand the text at a deeper level than merely is. And a common paradox in reading lesson is that while teachers are encouraging students to read for general understanding only, without worrying about the meaning of every single word, then students, on the other hand, are desperate to know what each individual word means. Given half a chance, many of them would rather tackle a reading passage with a dictionary or electronic or otherwise in one hand and a pen in the other to write translation all over the page. It is easy to be dismissive of such students' preferences. A word of caution needs to be added here. If students ask for the meaning of all the words they don't know and give some of the problem inherent in the explaining of different words meaning, the majority of lesson may be taken up in this way. The first teacher should give them a time limit. We can give a time limit of, say, for example, 5 minutes for vocabulary inquiry, whether this involves dictionary use, language corp researcher, or questions to the teacher. So if the 5 minutes is end, they cannot ask anything about the meaning again. And then the second is word or phrase limit. We can say that we will only answer questions about 5 or 8 words or phrases. So they will trying by themselves to find what is the meaning of that words or that phrase without only asking with the teacher anytime. And then the last is meaning consensus. we as teacher can get students to work together to search for and find word meaning. So it will be some discussion between the students. To start the procedure, individual students write down 3 or 5 words from the text they most want to know the meaning of or they are confused with. When they have each done this, they can share their list with another student and come up with a new joint list of only 5 words. When they sharing each other about the words that they confuse, they can also get the new words or the new meaning of words that they don't know before. Next slide, please. All right, the intensive reading letting the students in. And this is, students are far more likely to be engaged in a text if they bring their own feelings and knowledge to the task, rather than only responding to someone else's ideas. It is often the case that the comprehension tasks we ask students to do are based on tasks in the course book, right? In other words, the students are responding to what someone else has asked them to find out. But students are far more likely to be engaged in a text if they bring their own feelings or their own opinion and knowledge to the task rather than only responding to someone else's ideas of what they should find out. Teacher can get students engagement by asking them, do you like the text? Or what do you think about the first paragraph, for example? And another way of letting the students in is to allow them to create their own comprehension task. The question is important because if we only ever ask students technical questions about language, we are denying them any effective response to the content of the text. When we as teacher asking students about their comprehension without give them the limit, so they will be more appreciate about what they have done or read. Next, sorry. Yes, next slide, please. All right. The last about reading is reading lesson sequences. Most reading sequences involve more than one reading skill. We may start by having students read for GIS and then get them to read the text again for detailed comprehension. They may start by identifying the topic of a text before scanning the text quickly to recover specific information. They may read for specific information before going back to the text to identify features of text construction. Mostly, reading sequences involve more than one reading skill. We may start by having students read for GIS and then get them to read more detail. Next slide, please. So the examples for the example of reading sequences, I choose the example 5 from this book. At the example 5, the activity is ordering sentences, and then the skill is reading for yes or reading for detailed information, and the age is for any age, and the level is elementary. So in this example, students first have to do a reading puzzle, which leads them to complete a story. The reading is part of an integrated skill sequence which includes this discussion and language work. And then students are told they are going to discuss a car journey, which is in the exercise. The teacher asks them to name the parts of a car. Teacher can bring along a photographer or draw a car. And then students end up with words like mirror, tire, indicator, or etc. And then students look at the following exercise. The exercise is the next picture where there is a car. Students look at the following exercise where they have to write the correct verb in the blanks to make up typical car phrases. They can do this individually or in pairs. And then the teacher goes through the answer with the class and then give pairs of students the set of sentences. Next slide, please. Yes, this is the set of sentences which they have to put in order to make a story. They are in the correct, but the teacher will have mixed them up so that she doesn't give them out in a perfect sequence. While the students do this, the teacher goes around to the class monitoring what is going on and giving help when students are stuck. Next slide, please. Yes, and then the teacher goes through the sentences with the class to make sure everyone has the correct order. And teacher explains that the end of the story is missing and asks students once again in pairs or in group to try to work out what the end might be. And then they should write a final sentence or two. And the class listen to the different endings and decide which one they like best, and then the teacher then shows them the following. This is the first picture, is the example of the ending of the story. And then finally the class discussed the fact that the story is unlikely to be true. It is one of those urban myths that everyone tells. And reordering lines or paragraph like this is a bottom-up activity where general meaning is only achieved by looking at how the whole thing course on the basis not only of the facts but also by the use of cohesive devices which make the whole thing tick together. And a variation is to get students to stand up and give them each card with a different line from a poem. They can read their lines out to each other but not show them. And then they have to put the poem in order, and this is the following part. They can have the poem from this and read it in the front of their friends. All right, next slide, please. All right, that's all the presentation from me about reading from Jeremy Harmer's books. Thank you for your attending. Do you have any questions? All right, if there's no questions, so I will close my presentation today. Thank you for your attending and your participation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And my name is Nur Shifa, and right now I would like to present the chapter 18 of Jeremy Harmer's book, Listening. And next slide, please. And here is the overview of this chapter. The first one, there are extensive and intensive listening. And the second one is about film and video. And the next one, listening and film, lesson sequences. And the last one, the sound of music. Next slide, please. All right, so extensive and intensive listening. Here, students can enhance their listening skills and gain valuable language input through a mix of extensive and intensive listening activities. Both type of listening are crucial as they offer opportunities to hear different voices, help students develop good speaking habits through exposure to spoken English, and the last one, to improve their pronunciation. Next slide, please. All right, extensive listening. Extensive listening is an approach to language learning where learners focus on listening to a large amount of spoken language in order to improve their comprehension skills. And the material for extensive listening uh, include audio version of simplified readers, course book CDs, podcasts, and online English broadcasts. And to support extensive listening, teachers should provide a collection of tapes, CDs, and podcasts that categorize by level and topic. And the aim of this extensive listening um, to expose learners to a wide variety of authentic spoken materials such as podcasts, radio programs, audiobooks, and natural conversation. And next slide, please. Okay, intensive listening. Based on this book, intensive listening focus intensive listening is a focused approach to language learning where learners engage in detailed and concentrated listening practice. And this intensive listening designed to help learners develop their ability to comprehend spoken language in controlled and systematic way. By focusing on the finer details of pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, and context, learners can improve their listening accuracy and deepen their understanding of the language. Next slide, please. And there are in the intensive listening using audiobook, there are a range of benefits and challenges in the classroom. And about the advantages, there are a variety of voices and portability and accessibility, course book integration. And about the disadvantages, there are audioability issues, fixed speed, lack of interaction, and unnatural setting. But despite these challenges, recorded material is still valuable at various stages of teaching to mitigate some of the issue. There are such as check equipment and optimized classroom setup. Next slide, please. Okay, and who control the recorded material? Recorded material in language learning can sometimes limit students because they have to listen at the speed of the recording, which may not matching their individual listening pace. However, there are several strategies to give students more control over the recorded material. And the first one, student control stop and start. Here, student allowing to control the stop and start of the recording that can make the learning process more interactive. And the next one is students have access to different machines. Using multiple audio devices in small groups can enable students to listen at a speed suitable for their group rather than the whole class. And the last one, students work in a language laboratory or in the listening center. In the language lab, students can work individually with their own machines and giving them full control to pause, rewind, or to fast forward the recording. And this independence allows each student to work at their own pace and to improving their comprehension and retention. Next slide, please. All right, intensive listening as in the part of live listening. Live listening involves a real-time communication, which offers several advantages for language learner. The first one is reading aloud. Here, teachers reading aloud with expression that can help students hear and enjoy clear spoken language and making the learning experience engaging. And the next one is storytelling. Here, teachers telling stories that can provide rich listening material. And here, students can interact by predicting story outcomes, describing characters, or discussing events that can deepen their understanding and engagement. And the third one is live interviews. Here, especially with student-generated questions, they encourage active listening as students seek answer to their own queries. And inviting external guests or taking on different personas can make these interviews more interesting. And the last one, conversation. Engaging in conversation with colleagues in front of the class can help students observe and understand the natural interaction. This approach also allows for role playing, which can extend the benefits of the storytelling. Next slide, please. Intensive listening and in the teacher roles and the teacher roles. Teachers play several key roles to facilitate effective listening practice. The first one to organize. A teacher as a good organizer need to clearly explain the purpose of listening task and provide achievable goals to build student confidence. And the next one, teacher as a machine operator, efficiently using audio equipment is crucial, and teachers should know how to locate and play specific segment of the recordings and be prepared to adjust playback based on the student needs. And the third one is feedback on the organizer. After listening task, teachers should lead feedback session to verify understanding and encourage student cooperation and confidence. And the last one, prompter. Teachers can prompt students to re-listening to recordings to notice language features and using these techniques like script dictation to highlight specific language points. And next slide, please. All right, film and video. Beyond audio material, students can benefit from watching films on video, DVD, or online platforms. And films provide cultural insights and showing social behaviors, food habits, and unspoken rules better than audio or text alone. And next slide, please. And the viewing techniques, and these techniques aims to spark student curiosity through prediction and preparing them for the film sequence. And the first one is fast forward. Here, teachers briefly fast forward through the film, then ask students to guess the content and the dialogue based on the quick and silent preview. And the next one is silent viewing, and in the language, here, the teacher plays the film without sound, prompting students to guess what the characters are, and afterward, the teachers plays the film with sound so students can check their guesses. And the next one is silent viewing. In this technique, the teacher shows a sequence without sounds and asks students to suggest suitable background music and explain their choices. Here, they then watch the sequence with sound to compare their suggestion with the actual music used. And the freeze frame, here at any point, the teacher pauses the film and freezing the action. Students predict what will happen next or what a character will say. Here, these techniques will fostering engagement and speculation of the students. And the last one, partial viewing. Here, the teachers cover most of the screen, revealing only parts of the picture gradually, and alternatively, small section of the screen are revealed piece by piece. Uh, uh, a variation of this one involve using a divider so each or half of the class sees only half of the screen and must describe their view of the other half. And next slide, please. And listening and mixed techniques. This listening techniques based on this similar principle aim to provoke a student engagement and build expectation of the students. And there are so many techniques here. The first one is pictureless listening, and the next one is there are pictureless listening in the music, and the third one, there are pictureless listening on the sound effects. And the next one, there are picture or speech. And the last one, there are subtitle. And next slide, please. Okay, listening and film lesson sequences. Based on this book, explain about the listening can thus occur at various points in a teaching sequence. It can be starting point for subsequent subsequent activities. The first stage in a listening and acting out sequence where students can role play what they heard, or prelude to a writing exercise that is the lesson's main focus. Next slide, please. And here there's so many example of the listening lesson sequences, and you can see here in the example 1, there are interviewing a stranger. And this example 2, there are, I'm led. And next slide, please. Okay, so there are another example of the listening lesson sequences. So I will explain more about the example 3 about telephone messages. In the activity here is the taking messages, and the skills is predicting, listening for specific information, and the age of for this one is teenage, and the level is elementary. In this example, the activity is students are informed that they will hear 3 points conversation where callers leave messages for people who are not is the person that taking the messages, and they are all in the cinema, but the 3 friends and call and leave messages. And that's the example of the example 3. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the last one, is the sound of music. Music is a powerful tool for student engagement, appealing to emotions while allowing analytical thought, that it can transform classroom atmosphere, prepare students for activities, and bridge leisure with learning. And music's global reach through media makes it accessible for classroom activities. Here, students can interpret film music and describe characters, write stories, and discuss moods and setting based on the different music pieces. Next slide, please. Okay, so the conclusion about this book and about this chapter, So in this chapter, Jeremy Harmer highlight listening as an activity that essential component of language learning. He also discussed the complexities involved, such as understanding various accent and speech speeds, and emphasize the importance of exposing students to diverse listening materials. And that's all from me. Next slide, please. And that's all from me. Thank you so much for your attention. And if you have any questions, please tell me. Okay, guys, if there's no questions, so I will end this presentation. And thank you so much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.